Welcome, everybody, to a Tuesday evening. Welcome to our Minnesota Gopher preview show. Down below, we've got Gopher, Kane, Rob, who is the host of Gopher. Wait a minute, I had that written down here. Gopher Broke Pod. I'm going to ask you later how you came up with that name. Gopher Broke, I guess. That's it. I got it. I figured it out by saying it. All right, guys, let's get down to business before we start our show. First thing, as always, hit that subscribe button. It's right there in front of you. As always, it doesn't take any effort to hit that subscribe button. Then hit the like button. Show me that you like it. Help my algorithm. All right, guys, we are growing every episode. We grow a couple of more subscribers. Just keep doing it, and then, share it out. We're open for live comments tonight, but share this puppy out to everybody you can think of. And I went and shared it the last episode on just about everybody's podcast. I copy and pasted in the comments. I don't know if that got me any extra views or not, but we'll see how it goes. But you guys could do the same. All right? You could do the same. If you like the content, just show us that you like it. All right. Well, welcome to the show, Kane. We appreciate you being here. I know I kind of got a hold of you yesterday. It was kind of last minute almost, but I was actually shocked that you said yes, and you're here. Okay. And Kelvin's going to open up with a little bit of news first, and then we'll get right into the game.
Okay.
Kelvin?
As usual, got my Swarm shirt on. Mr. Kane, that's the nil donation platform for Iowa Hawkeye sports, above the revenue sharing. So if you want to make a donation, we'd love that. I won't hold my breath, But anyway, here we go with the news. This Friday is this week's basketball scrimmage with probably a top 10 or 15 Texas Tech squad in Iowa City. The coach down there is longtime friends with our new coach. And it sounds like from the news conference today, everybody might play for the Hawkeyes as far as injuries, of course, except our NFL tight end, Mr. Ostrenga, who's out for the season.
And who's coming back next year. He confirmed it today.
Well, yeah, of course. He's got to prove to the NFL that Achilles tendon injury is healed up. That's a more than a year rehabilitation usually. It was torn and they had to fix it. So, okay. And I found out today that Wetchen only played running back, our great returner and wide receiver. He only played running back in high school, never was a wide receiver, and Mr. Budmeyer, our wide receiver coach, suggested to our running back coach that they try positioning him there for running plays. And Mr. John Nestor's returning to Kinnick Stadium, transferred to Minnesota from our Iowa Hawkeyes, and he still has, the defensive backs said today that they still are very friendly with John and they wish him great luck, except on Saturday. Desmond King has been back coaching as a volunteer coach on the sidelines. He was at the last game. Kirk today threw recruiting rankings under the bus. He said that recruiting rankings are garbage. The baseball schedule came out for the Iowa Hawkeyes, and it's a much tougher Big Ten schedule this year, which may help us in our RPI ratings. And the official scoring for Plan for the Pig, since the trophy has been created, is Iowa 43 wins, Iowa 45 wins, Minnesota 43 with 2 ties, which kind of surprised me because Minnesota probably owns a 10-win advantage in the series overall. So that's the end of my news.
All right. Well, as long as you brought it up, let's just run down those stats real quick. Minnesota all-time series is 63, 53, and 2 over Iowa. Iowa's won 9 out of the last 10. Iowa streak is 1. Last meeting 31-14. Minnesota's last victory 2 years ago, 12-10 in the famous "it was not a fair." What do you call it? I slipped up. But anyway,
It's not a fair catch game. So
yeah, the fair catch.
We aren't going to talk about that in front of Kane. So pretty sore subject down here, Kane. So
all righty. Well, let's just talk about. First of all, my biggest question on my mind is John Nestor didn't play last week. Did you hear anything this week so far that will he be playing this week?
So we haven't heard anything officially on if he'll play this week or not. PJ kind of holds on to injury reports like it is top secret government identification. And so overall, we won't know anything until that report comes out about 2 hours before game time. That being said, I know I was at the game in the press box last week and he was warming up prior to the official warmups, and then they made the call that he couldn't go. So it seems like he was at least somewhat close to playing last week. So hopefully, knowing the relationship with Iowa here, and I know he definitely had this one circled on his calendar to be able to play against some of his old teammates, I think maybe there's a chance at it, but nothing official.
Yeah, I think
what was his injury? What was his injury?
I'm not sure, to be honest. I think they said it was something leg related, but I don't have an official injury for him.
Well, I just figured he had maybe he's a little upset with Phil Parker, the defensive coordinator, because I think he went into last year. He went into fall camp as the number 1 DB and cornerback, and he barely saw the field the rest of the year.
Yeah,
I don't know. There's a lot of conjecture down here, and we don't really know. We know his dad lost his job as a coach at West Branch, which is right beside Iowa City. It was his first year as a coach, and we don't know that it was maybe his dad was relocating for another job up that way, maybe, and that maybe that's why he went that way. But it's all conjecture. So.
Yeah. Okay, so next thing I want to know, let's just talk about some of the individual players. I mean, you've got a freshman or a redshirt freshman quarterback. Am I correct?
Yep.
And it sounds to me like through all of everything I can figure out, he's having a pretty decent season for a freshman.
Yeah, no, he coming into Minnesota, he had the intangibles. I mean, he's like 6'5", 220 pounds, big arm. In high school, I don't know how Arkansas let him get away. I know he didn't have a ton of high major offers or power offers, but he had like a 91-9 touchdown to interception ratio in high school. And he also was a state champion. And so like he did some big things down there. He was the Gatorade Player of the Year for Arkansas. So it was really weird to see like not any other power schools really offer him besides Minnesota coming through. So they kind of found a diamond in the rough on that one. They knew he had the talent per se, but I think a lot of what helped last year was Max Brosmer being here, and the coaching staff, Drake, Max, they all talked about how from the second Max got here, Drake was like at his hip side, handcuffed to him, following him everywhere he went, watching how he broke down the film, watching how he made checks at the line, asking about it, why he made this check. In the hotel rooms on the road, they would go over like the different calls that they would get, and he would ask how he would make this check or what would he do in this situation. And he really picked his brain and got that more cerebral part of his game going. And I think you can really start to see that this year. He doesn't play like a freshman with the like skittish moments and the big moments after he throws a pick, or if it's in a clutch situation, the game's on the line, or you need to make a big drive. Like he's always cool, calm, and collected, which I absolutely love about him.
Can I ask a couple quick questions, Kane?
Yeah, go for it.
I seen that his only bad game, I don't know about the California game. Wait, was it Purdue that he wasn't? He like completed less than half of his passes. Do you remember what happened there? And my other question is, what are his strengths and weaknesses? Is he a good runner? I know he can throw the ball, but go ahead.
Yeah, no, on your first question. So the Purdue game, yes, his completion percentage was garbage. It was awful. It was 47%. That being said, in the actual game itself, they threw a lot of screen passes, which usually you'd get a lot of higher completion percentages there. But when they weren't throwing screen passes, they threw a lot of like one-on-one looks where they were trying to throw it towards a player where trying to get a defensive pass interference essentially. And the refs were not giving pass interferences in that game at all. Like you could literally grab the guy, hug him, and take him to the ground, and they were not throwing it for either side, both Minnesota or for Purdue, but they kept trying to target it. And so then it would be incomplete or deflected. And I think he had 12 pass breakups credited against him in that game. So that was kind of the reason why that looked so poor, but he still threw for a high number of pass yards. So it was better than it looks in the stat book.
Okay.
But overall, your second question, his strengths and weaknesses. He's definitely not a running quarterback. He can move in the pocket if he has to. He's really good at keeping his eyes downfield while staying alive and avoiding rushers. But if he has to run and scramble outside, he's had one or two plays that have been pretty good on that. But outside of that, like he's not super mobile. But I would say his elite trait and what made the Gophers really want to bring him in, and I feel like it's only developed since then, is his anticipation. He's really good at throwing the ball ahead of something being open and throwing it to that open window and getting it to the right spot. He had a really nice touchdown to Lemeke Brockington this last week that really opened it up for the Gophers. And with that skill set, he's had another one. I think it was in the not the Purdue game, but the Rutgers game. It was in the Rutgers game where he kind of threw Lemeke open in the back of the end zone before he had even made his break. So he's really good at anticipating when something is going to come open and the timing of it all, keeping his footwork good and finding that open man. So I would definitely say that's his elite trait. And then the second thing is that thing I said earlier that I really liked, that he's always calm under pressure. Like it doesn't seem like you can rattle him no matter what's happening. If he threw a pick, if he has the game, like he has to go 98 yards on this next drive, starting on his 2-yard line, like he never flinches. And I haven't seen that from very many freshmen.
He should transfer to Iowa then.
Fine. So, once we're on the subject of quarterback, let's talk about the wide receivers and tight ends that he'd be throwing to. So, who are we looking to catch a lot of balls or make some noise?
Yeah, overall, the thing about Drake is he really spreads it around. That's one thing that definitely has been very apparent this year. His number one target is Lemeke Brockington, who has the most receptions on the year. I think I just mentioned him in 2 different touchdowns, but he is like the guy that when we need a big play, when we need someone to have sure hands, like I feel like it goes to Lemeke more often than not. He is a redshirt senior, so he's been with the program the longest as well. But he really spreads it around. I mean, Lemeke, Jalen Smith is our kind of like speedster deep ball guy. He's a redshirt freshman as well. He's had some big plays in the year, but he's suffered from some drops as well every so often. Javon Tracy is a transfer in from Miami of Ohio. He was an all-conference, all-MAC player last year, and he's done really good at catching the ball and creating missed tackles. And then our tight end number 1 is Jamison Gears. He has been the tight end 1 last year and this year. He's really good at sitting in the zone and finding the openings, but I feel like he's not great in like one-on-one man coverage. So I know with Iowa's secondary, that could present a challenge with Gears getting openings. But overall, like I said, yeah, he really spreads it out. And then the running backs are involved in the running or the pass game as well. Darius Taylor last year was like one of our top 3 receiving options. And now that he's working back from the injury, he's been getting more involved in the pass game too.
All right. Let's talk about your running backs, the guys that are going to carry the ball.
Oh my God. Darius Taylor. I wish he was hurt.
Yeah, Darius Taylor, he's definitely the guy in Minnesota, and he's finally looking like he's kind of back to 100%. I know he got injured in the first drive of the second game of the season. He pulled, or I don't know if he pulled it, but he did something to his hamstring, came up kind of a little awkward, and then he missed the remainder of that game, and then the next 2 or 3 games as well. Didn't come back until Ohio State, which is not the game I would want anybody to come back against because my goodness. But so they only gave him like 8 carries in that game, but then he kind of started to warm back up in that Purdue game. And then we saw him come back alive this last game against Nebraska. I believe he had 148 yards rushing, but he also can catch the ball, like I was saying. But one thing that a lot of people maybe don't know is like he's also a super cerebral type player. Like he's in the backfield often giving Drake Lindsay some cues like shot clock, talking about the play clock going down or like things to help him. Or if he sees a pressure coming, he'll call it out and things like that. So though having him in the backfield is more than just him as a rusher. He definitely helps the offense find its groove a lot too.
He's pretty good at picking up blitzes.
Yeah, he holds his own.
He'll either knock the guy on his rear end or he'll jet out into the flat and they'll dump him the ball.
Mm-hmm.
You know, boy, he played great against Nebraska. Holy cow!
Yeah, he was actually a receiver in high school. He was a receiver for most of high school. He didn't switch to running back till his senior year, I believe, and then the rest is history.
Well, speaking of the Nebraska game, where you guys crushed Nebraska. You know, and I know you guys were all happy and excited that you beat Nebraska, probably because, you know, there was a lot of hype surrounding Nebraska this year and how good they were supposed to be. But, you know, you guys have kind of owned them over the years. And I'm just kind of like, it's like, okay, you know, maybe it was the score that made you guys all dance around and cheer. But yeah.
Yeah, no, it was a little
weird. Usually happy when you win.
It was a little weird to see them storm the field after that game. Now, the Gophers fans have stormed the field after any ranked win, so I think that's why it happened. But it was a little weird being like, okay, we've beat them 6 in a row now, 7 of the last 8. Like, why are we storming the field sort of thing? But I mean, on the flip side of that, you talk about, you know, the Gophers have had Nebraska's number. Well, I had our number, so I'm definitely a little nervous and anxious about this weekend's game. And I know I don't have to tell you all that because you know very well that I had PJ's number for sure. So hopefully the Gophers can take the momentum from that Nebraska win and keep riding it into this away game.
I think one of the advantages the Gophers have this week is I think the players might still be riding the high from Penn State. Usually we follow a big win with a big loss, an unexpected big loss.
I know in the last few years, Kane, Minnesota's always had some offensive tackle that's a big NFL prospect, or that center they had, you know, that was so highly rated. Are they down a little bit in the offensive line as far as pass protection and running the ball or not?
It's been a really big question for them. They've like shifted where in which position the offensive linemen are playing in the last 4 games. They've moved the left tackle to right tackle, the left guard to right guard. The right guard went out and a different right guard came in. Like they've played with that combination for the last 4 games because the running offense especially was struggling so much. It feels like last week they went back to their original configuration and they found a little bit more success. But PJ had talked about how they took practice a little bit differently with the fundamentals, and they just drilled on the fundamentals, because the fundamentals and your technique is what helps you get consistency when you're tired, or it's what helps you find those openings later. And so that was a big emphasis this last week.
Yeah. In his press conference, he mentioned that. He just said, well, let's just put everybody back where they originally started and let's just make them better at that position instead of trying to move them around to where we think they fit better.
Yeah.
Now, did they do this reconfiguration during a bye week, or when was their last bye week?
So our last bye week was right before the Big Ten schedule kicked off. So they've been playing with it every week in between those, like even after a bye week. And I think
a lot of times when they make switches, it's during a bye week.
Yeah.
You know, they've been doing it on the fly, huh? So
yeah, the run game was struggling so much that they were like, we have to do something. Like we can't not run the ball. And so I think they just kept trying to do different things and trying to make it work, but it just wasn't. So like Matthew was saying, they went back to kind of their original things and they're like, let's just be better at what we know. And it seemed to help this last week, but we'll see what happens. I think Iowa's run defense is a lot better than Nebraska's run defense, like significantly better. So we'll see if
I would hope so.
Fluky or if it was kind of the right stuff.
Well, my question is because the run game works so well this week for you. And by the way, I think you passed pretty good too against them. So my question is was it something that Nebraska is doing? Was it their D line not working very well, or or something that you guys were able to run for the yardage that you did?
It's hard to say. Nebraska's run defense hasn't been very good all of this year. I think they were like heading into our matchup, they were like 88th in the country or something like that. Now, Purdue's hasn't been good either, but for some reason they locked down like they were the tightest security you've ever seen. But for some reason, I think it was more so just how the Gophers approached that game. Like I said, they were grinding the fundamentals all week that I feel like it just got ingrained into them. And then we saw little openings, whether it was like, it wasn't like they were creating massive holes, but it was more than what we were seeing before. Before, Darius or Feme were getting met in the backfield, having to create a missed tackle, and then trying to fight ahead for a yard or two, getting like 2 yards a carry. Whereas this one, I feel like the first contact wasn't happening until they were 3 or 4 yards deep.
I hate to do that. I had to delete a comment. I can't handle those. Can't have those words on here, or we will get blocked. I will get. Sorry.
People,
if
use
you
a
want
little
to,
judgment out there, people. You know,
if you want to repeat your comment without the words in there that will get me banned, please go ahead and repost it, and I'll share your comment. But I had no hard feelings. I just can't have those words on my show.
So has Minnesota's offense changed game to game? Obviously, when you get Darius Taylor back, you run the ball more, right? But maybe not.
I think it was definitely a ramp up process as Darius was getting back, but it's also been kind of what the game dictates. Like the Gophers got down early against Ohio State and then kind of ended up abandoning the run because they had to try to get something to work, and the pass game wasn't working in that game either. But then Purdue came, and I feel like the run game was really stifled again. And then they started to find success in the pass game. So they just really leaned into it, but they leaned into shorter passes, screen passes, and things like that to help keep them on their toes and keep things moving forward. It's definitely been game to game and trying to attack whatever the weakness of that defense is. But overall, I would say that if PJ could have his ideal situation, it would be that we get the run game going and generate a little success there to get the defense on their heels and then open up with a play action shot or open up with a creative motion that brings across and shows if it's man or zone and being able to attack from there. But a couple times earlier in the year, we saw the Gophers pass to be able to run. So the run game wasn't working. They passed, and Drake Lindsey found success there and pushed the secondary back a little bit more. And then finally we could open up the run game a little bit. But if the Gophers can have their way, they always want to look at the run first.
So there's no secrets in playing Iowa's defense. You know, Phil does the same thing every year, little tweaks here or there. You know, if he gets you in a pressure situation, he might then blitz, but usually doesn't a lot. So what do you expect it to be this week, since you pretty much know what to expect from Iowa's defense? You saying lean on the run and then use play action and maybe a little trickery once in a while like PJ uses? Or
if it goes the way that I think it's going to go, I think that the run game is not going to find as much success, and that has tended to be an issue in the Iowa games since Mo Ibrahim has left Minnesota. I feel like Darius had a little bit before his injury in his freshman year, but I know last year you absolutely shut the run game down like it was nobody's business. And Max Brosmer started to find some opportunities in the pass game, but then he had turned the ball over. So I think Iowa is probably going to try and make Minnesota pass and put the ball in dangerous positions. And I think the Gophers probably play a little bit more conservative, like they started with Nebraska, and they try to take short looks and they try to hit screen passes or hit small conversions, having the tight end sit in the hole of the zone and try to attack that way. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if we see the running backs get probably 3 or 4 targets in the first quarter or two, because I feel like we're going to try to hit the low, quick checkdowns. And
is he the only one froze, Dean?
Yeah, it's not me tonight because I usually have a thing up in the corner if it's me.
Here he is.
Back? There he is. He's back.
Do they have a wildcat quarterback or a running back they put in a wildcat or anything this year or not?
They've run a little bit of Wildcat, and they've run it with two running backs. They've run it with Darius Taylor and Cam Davis as the two running backs. It's pretty rare, and it's usually only in short yardage situations, but they have done it here and there.
Did you see the trickery play that Penn State tried to do on 4th down against Iowa and it backfired?
No, I missed that one.
The quarterback didn't go up under center. I think it was a 4th and 1, right? Okay. 4th and 1, and while the quarterback is turning his back toward the headline, telling he's doing something like this, the tight end runs up underneath center, and then Iowa stuffs it. I've never seen that before.
When I think of PJ Fleck's trickery against us, it was a few years ago at Kinnick Stadium. He had his quarterback. It was like, I don't know, 4th and a half a yard or 1 yard or something. And he had the quarterback do a jump pass to his fullback or tight end who just ran right by our linebacker. And I think he scored a touchdown or something. That's a type of trickery that devilish coach of yours uses against Iowa once in a while.
Yeah. So another question I got about your guys' rush defense. Because of Iowa's success in the run game this year, do you expect to see them load the box up a little bit and try to force Iowa into passing to beat them? Because we know that Iowa's not having a ton of success in the pass game.
Potentially. I mean, if anything, the Gophers' weakness on defense has definitely been their pass defense. They've been carved up by Athan, by even Rayola last week. Even though he got sacked 9 times, he still, when he had the time, found some big holes in the Gophers' secondary. And if Nestor's down, and then last week, Giante McMillan, who is our cornerback 3, also went down, the guy who was in for Nestor. If they're either one of them or both of them are down, I could see them really trying to stop the run, knowing that it's Iowa's strength, but also because they don't know what's going to happen with that secondary in the first place. So I think the Gophers overall might try to push them to pass and see what happens. But I think if anything, they're really going to be conservative in their approach because they know Gronowski can get out on the run and go. And right now, quarterbacks getting outside of the pocket has been sort of the issue for the Gophers in some of their past games versus Cal or versus even Purdue. The quarterbacks themselves weren't running all over us, but getting out of the pocket and finding the openings and finding the big plays down the field, they were hurting us when they got outside of the pocket. So the Gophers have to be better at establishing the edge.
Well, they have their great young safety. I think he's a sophomore. He's supposed to be the next Cooper DeJean or something. He returns punts, and he's a great safety. Is he having a good year, an off year, about what is expected, or what?
I'd say he's having a good year still. He had one game. It was the Cal game, actually, where it felt like just from the jump of the game all the way through the game that something was off, something wasn't right. He was a step behind. He was making weird punt return decisions. He had fair caught something at the 2 when he shouldn't have. He had tried to take a bounced punt and take it for a return, and it bounced off his foot and it flipped the field for Cal, and they went on. That's where they took their lead touchdown and really put the game away on that drive. He had missed on an interception opportunity. That game itself was really bad, but his response since then has been really good, and even ahead of it, it was pretty good. So he had one bad game, but overall he's done really well with getting tackles throughout the game, but really keeping himself in a difference-making moment. He had a pick 6 for the game winner in that Purdue game, so he was kind of the big finish for that one. I would say it hasn't been as great as last year, where he had 5 interceptions, was first team all Big Ten, but it's not anything that you're like, oh, this guy is bad by any means. He's still a really good player.
No, I know that Phil Parker wanted him to replace Cooper DeJean out of high school. I can't remember his name. What's his last name?
Parrish, Coy Parrish.
There you go.
So Kyle Reimers writes, Maurice Maroney was a good player for Minnesota. The last Iowa versus Minnesota game I went to was when Minnesota came in undefeated and came into Kinnick and lost. It was awesome. I'm sorry, he wrote it, not me.
Well, we celebrate Iowa victories here, but
also, Kyle probably missed the beginning of the show. He says also Minnesota has a guy who played for Iowa, transferred to Minnesota. Isn't too bad of a player, John Nestor.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Hopefully he'll be able to play this weekend.
I don't know. I've got mixed emotions whether I want him to play or
That's
not.
your opinion. We're hoping that, that for somehow just not ready,
Yeah.
Well,
We have enough respect for John Nestor here that we know that he could hurt us guys, especially since he's probably played against our offense enough in practices that he knows what's coming. Okay. So we talked a little bit about the defensive line too. Let's talk about your cornerbacks and safeties.
Yeah, so the safeties are probably the biggest strength of this defense. They've got three that they absolutely love. Coy Parrish being the leader of that room. He was first team All Big Ten last year. He was freshman All American last year. He hasn't had as many turnovers this year as far as like the interceptions like he did last year, but he still finds himself always in a position to make a big play. He's had a couple issues with missed tackles in a couple games, but it feels like he's really been cleaning it up and coming into his own these last few weeks. But across from him is Kerry Brown, who is also big difference maker. He has had some game flipping interceptions. I believe he's had two of them now. He had one in the Purdue game and one in the Rutgers game, and they were both like the perfect timing of like when the Gophers really needed a response, and he came up with big plays. So those two are the strength of the defense in the safety room. And then the third safety is Aiden Gooseby. Sometimes he'll play in the nickel. Sometimes he'll rotate to one of the main safety positions, and Coy will rotate down and they'll send him on a blitz or things of that nature. Kerry also sometimes plays in the nickel. So they rotate between the three guys in different ways to really give you different looks. But the secondary themselves, the cornerbacks, they've had some up and down moments. John Nestor from Iowa is probably the leader of that pack right now. He leads the team in interceptions. He plays with a lot of swagger. He takes some risks, and it can hurt him sometimes. I think in Ohio State, it definitely hurt him in a couple of times, but he plays really well and consistent for Minnesota. And then across from him, you've got Zaquan Bryan. I'm a big fan of his. He plays with a ferocity as well, but he has gotten beat a couple times. That's hurt him a little bit. And then Giante McMillan is the third cornerback, but like I mentioned, he also got hurt last weekend. He was playing pretty well up until that moment. So the biggest thing for the corners is, are they healthy and will they be able to play in this game?
Are the other teams avoiding throwing in the area of your star safety, or is he just not happening to pick off passes?
I would say, especially early, I feel like teams weren't trying to throw it his way. I feel like as it's gone on, it depends on if the Gophers pressure is getting there. If the Gophers pressure is getting there, they don't really have an option to think about it. They just have to get rid of the ball, because Anthony Smith leads the Big Ten in sacks right now. He is a monster. He's probably the Gophers' next big draft prospect on this team so far. Darius Taylor's probably the next best behind him. But if the pressure is getting home, then I think it gives more opportunities for turnovers for us, especially for Coy. But if the pressure isn't getting there, which we've had a couple games where they just have not been able to get any pressure on the quarterback, then that's where people start to avoid Coy's side of the field. They start to pick apart the secondary, because sometimes the Gophers give way too much cushion at the line of scrimmage. Sometimes they'll play a zone and it's read right away, and they'll find the hole of the zone and really eat at it. So if the pressure can't get there, the Gophers defense has struggled a bit.
I was very impressed with your athletic, fast linebackers. Very active guys. I don't know if they're the biggest, and they don't weigh 250 pounds or anything, but they're very tenacious, active troublemakers.
For sure. I feel like they're definitely more speed linebackers than they are kind of the bigger guys that you're talking about. But Maverick Baranowski leads that room, and then Matthew Kingsbury and Devin Williams rotate in a lot. And Matthew Kingsbury had a huge, really physical sack last week that really helped him. And I think it could lead to him getting more snaps as we move forward too.
Okay. So Kyle's got a couple more comments I'd like to read. He goes, my parents were at the very last Iowa-Minnesota game in the Metrodome where Sean Green ran all over Minnesota. Iowa won 55-0. If you guys remember that game, not only do I remember it, with that game we won the Big Ten that year with that win, and we tried to carry out the goalpost out the Metrodome.
Mhm.
Game very well member. Also, Kyle says, this is actual question. Does Coach Fleck try to stay in Minnesota for recruiting like the high schools in Minnesota are good at football?
Coach Fleck has done a lot of recruiting in Minnesota. I would say before he was here, a lot of the top kids were not staying in the state. But I'd say the last 5 years, I think the last 5 years they've kept the top kid, and they've usually kept like 3 or 4 of the top kids in state and with the program. And a lot of them are starters right now. Jackson Howard is a starter on the D end. Greg Johnson, who was a top kid in the state, is starting on the offensive line. We've had I'd say the top tier kids in Minnesota have gone on to play really well and play at good programs even before when they were leaving. But a lot of them are choosing to stay home right now. I believe it's next year's class. They got Roman Voss to stay home, and he picked Minnesota over Alabama. Coy Parrish, who was the guy
win.
Coy Parrish.
I was going to ask you if you knew Mr. Voss. Kirk and the tight end coach Hodge wanted him real bad. He's a great athlete from a great athletic family. But
that was a big win for them. And like Coy Parrish, the guy we've talked about a little bit, he was the number 1 kid in the state, and the Gophers kept him away from Ohio State and Florida State. So they've done some big wins in the last few years, especially in keeping the top talent home.
Yeah.
Okay. Alrighty. Oh, yeah, here. I wanted to go over these real quick. I want to show you how even Minnesota and Iowa are this year to each other. Okay, defensive yards allowed. Iowa's 8th at 249. Minnesota is 18th at 294. I mean, it's 50 yards difference, but still. It's still, I would put them right there together. Points allowed. Iowa 10th at 14.6. Minnesota 29th at 19. Total offense. This is where Minnesota favors over Iowa. Total offense, Minnesota's 105 at 340 yards, and Iowa's 116 at 324 yards. And then, of course, scoring offense, Iowa's 59th at 29.9. That's a big number. I want to tell you guys something about that one real quick. And then Minnesota's 78 at 26.9. So this could come down to a field goal, guys. Maybe a late field goal. But when the season started, our offensive coordinator, Tim Lester, said that he would like our team to average 30 points a game. We're at 29.9. So if we can just hover around that 30 point the rest of the year, which, probably not going to happen against USC or Oregon. But so.
USC's defense has been really bad, so you might against them still, but Oregon might be a tough one.
2 years ago, Kane, we averaged 17.7.
I remember it. I was very happy about it, but we still
somehow we won 10 games, but
they always find a way.
Yeah. Well, Chad Lysicle said it was only 15 points, so but anyway, it was bad. It was bad. And we averaged 27 last year, so when people start getting on our offense, I do remind them that they gained about 10 to 12 points in 1 year. Okay. Big Ten Network guys are saying today that Iowa and Minnesota are very similar in a lot of ways. What do you guys think? Honestly, from everything you've said, things I've read, things I've watched, I would say these two teams are probably about as identical as they get right now.
Yeah, I think they are very similar. They both everything is taking care of the football, and you're not afraid to do it the ugly way. I think that PJ has really leaned into that, and a lot of people in that Nebraska fan base were telling me Minnesota's bad, Minnesota's bad, Minnesota's bad. But it's they're not a bad team. They just win ugly. They find a way to get it done, and they don't care if it's pretty. They don't care if, as long as they took care of the football and found a way to end in a win, that's all they care about right now. And I feel like that is definitely something that PJ has learned from Kirk Ferentz and all the close wins, the painful wins that we've seen you guys take, there's been times where we've led in every category, in yardage and all of these things, but Iowa wins because they found a way to win.
You got us back on the fair catch game.
Yeah,
you got us back. No,
I think I watched BTN today, and they were talking about that PJ tries to run his program like Kirk does. You know, he recruits the right people, you know, tries to create a very tight-knit. His players love him. Nobody's players love a coach more than they do Kirk, you know that. You know, and they were talking about that, you know, and all three phases of football. You know, Fleck always tries to have a decent punter, decent special teams, good returners, and not make mistakes, and good defense, as good as you can play, and get good coordinators and try to keep him. He can't keep his coordinators because they keep going to Penn State or someplace, you know.
Rivalry aside, PJ always talks about Kirk Ferentz and like the respect he has for him, especially the longevity. You don't find longevity like that across the nation. Like, what is it, 27, 28 years? Like, that's
I think
just
this is 27th season, I believe.
Okay.
And one thing I did hear PJ say in his press conference yesterday, that those exact words, and you know, somebody was asking him about his consistency and his longevity, and he threw the question and said, maybe you ought to talk to Kirk Ferentz.
Yeah.
You know, but you guys realize that PJ Fleck is the second most tenured coach in the Big Ten right now.
Yeah, now that James Franklin was fired, he's now officially the second one.
I know PJ has shown a little bit of interest in other jobs. You think he's gonna? The coaching carousel is like spinning wild already, right? We're halfway through the season. What do you think? Is he going to go to like some SEC school? Is he going to go to UCLA, which I know he showed a little bit of interest in? I don't remember if it was 2 years ago or a year ago. What do you think?
I think, if I'm being honest with you, I think he's here to stay. I think it would take the perfect offer, not even just financially, but like a lot of what Fleck has done in his time here is built kind of that culture and the foundation of it all. And so it's like, now that he's finally got the recruiting wins within Minnesota, but also recruiting wins outside, now that he's finally got like the full row the boat culture academically, spiritually, and like volunteering and the service that they provide to the community, like he's tapped in all the ways that he possibly can as a coach. And he always talks about like his biggest thing is he is still an educator. He still wants to help teach these guys, not even just football wise, but how to be the best men in their communities and whatnot outside of that. I feel like that presence and the culture that he's established is very strong here in Minnesota, and it's respected by most, I would say. So I think in order to leave, it would have to be the perfect storm of like, you know, just a crazy offer, amazing NIL established success, and things of that nature. And then on top of that, like somewhere he would want to live. So I think overall it'd be tough to pull him. I'm not going to say it's impossible because who knows in this college football landscape, but I definitely think he likes the longevity, and he knows that the AD and the university itself really wants him here. So I don't think he'll be going anytime soon.
Yeah. I think he could coach at Minnesota as long as he wants.
Yeah.
I mean, you got the Vikings there, right? That's the important job, right? It ain't like some of these other schools where, you know, Ohio State, you lose 2 games a year, you're fired.
Right.
You know, PJ can average 8 wins a season. Like is that about what he's averaging?
Yeah, they've been
he'll have a 10-win season and a 7-win season, and I mean, he's in no danger of ever losing that job.
Well, he's very consistent. His teams have been very consistent over the years.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of Iowa. Nothing elite, nothing special, just consistency.
Mm-hmm.
Jason, if you're still on, I did send you an invite. You can pop in if you got any questions or anything you want to contribute. And so, you know, Jason, look for your invite.
You pretty much said what you expect Minnesota to do on offense? What do you expect them to do on D? What's their keys to victory, their game plan, like defensively, and what do you expect if Minnesota wins? What do they got to do?
I think if Minnesota is going to win this one defensively, they have to set the edge. They cannot let the quarterback get out on rollouts or anything like that and create with his legs. And they have to hopefully slow down the run game. I'm not even saying shut it down, but just like slow it down and make it a tight game on that situation. But I think the biggest thing in these Iowa-Minnesota matchups is always who wins the battle of the turnovers. So if you can find a way to take care of the football and force a turnover, I think that could be the difference in this one, especially if you can set the edge and not let them have their way with what they want to do. If you put them in situations where it is 2nd and long or 3rd and long and they have to throw the ball, you can probably find an opportunity or two where you might be able to find an interception, and that could be a difference maker.
Great.
Is Iowa like an 8-point favorite or 7, or does anybody know?
Like 8.5 right now.
I was going to say, I thought it was 9, but 8.5 was good as 9.
What do you think? What are you thinking of that? I mean,
I don't know. It depends which Gophers team shows up. If it's a team that played against Nebraska and the team that played against the second half of Rutgers and whatnot, then I think it's a little big. I think Iowa should be favored. It's at home. Iowa has a crazy home stadium. PJ Fleck talked about how he thinks it's one of the hardest places to play in the country. I think it should be maybe around like 4.5 or 5-ish. I think that feels better, but if the Gophers play like they did against Purdue and Ohio State, then Iowa could absolutely throttle them too. So
yeah, I think it should be around 2.5 to 3. Okay.
I think it ought to be around 1 million.
Well, okay.
Hawks by 1 million.
Kyle says, how good is the Gophers special teams? I guess we haven't talked much about the special team. I think you brought it up a person or two, but overall.
Yeah, the return game, they haven't gotten a lot of opportunities. There's been a lot of touchbacks and things of that nature, but Coy has the ability to make special plays as a returner, and the Gophers trust him to make those opportunities. Like I said, there was a bad moment in Cal, but outside of that, he's been really well. He's had a couple 50-plus yard returns on the season. Kicker-wise, our field goal kicker is atrocious. He has missed probably there was a streak of like 4 games where he'd missed a field goal in almost every single game. And some of them are short. Like he is not a distance kicker by any means. Like if it's a 46 yard or more, I don't trust him to take that field goal. I don't know if PJ Fleck trusts him to take that field goal. So it's definitely been very punt centric for our special teams, but our punter has had some great ones. He has had some really nice ones. He can do the funky kicks with the extra rolls and all these things. I've had a lot of faith and consistency with him, so that's been a plus. But I think the definite weakness in our special teams is that field goal kicker.
Okay,
Hawks by 1 million.
So does he had any field goal attempts blocked? I mean.
I can't remember. If he has, it's only been 1. He hasn't really had many blocked, but he's just missed a lot.
Yeah, the On 3 put up the Minnesota statistics a couple days ago. If I remember right, your punter's over 44 yards a punt. I think he's closer to 45 yards a punt. So he's a good punter. Mm-hmm. And your punt returner is averaging 7.5 because I was comparing him to our guy. And 7.5 is good.
What's our guy got?
Way more than that. He's the best in the. He won the Jet Award last year, and he's going to be unanimous All-American. He's probably averaging 15 yards of punt return. Isn't that crazy? 15 and a half or something. I don't want to tell the Minnesota coaches what to do, so I'll tell them punt to him, please. Punt low line drives right to him, please. That's my. I'm not going to help PJ any. Okay.
Jason said the reason why the line's gotten so high is because all the money's going on Iowa.
Well, I think it's because I think it's because I was averaging like 6 yards a carry on the season. So, That's a
Yeah,
pretty good
Jason's with
sign,
his
ain't
family
it,
at the
kid?
pumpkin patch tonight.
If you're averaging 6 yards a carry rushing the ball, that's a pretty good sign, ain't it, Kane?
Oh, for sure, for sure.
We got the best offensive line in the country this year. It's ridiculous.
All right, guys. Now we're gonna pick the Iowa-Minnesota game first tonight.
Uh-oh.
Okay, Kelvin, give me your score. I know who you're gonna pick.
Well, and I think realistically, you got to pick Iowa, with the way they're running the ball this year and their quarterback. I mean, everybody says, "Oh, we're only averaging 96 yards a game passing." But
Who cares? We're running the
we're
ball.
only throwing the ball like 16 times a game, and he's completing, 65% of them. What's to complain about? Oh, anyway, you want to score? I'll go 33 to 13.
Okay.
That'd be Iowa.
Kane, I'm going to give you a shot here. I'm sure you got Minnesota.
I've gone back and forth. I'm not going to lie to you. But last week I picked Nebraska and I felt dirty doing it. And I can't make myself do that 2 weeks in a row. So I do have Minnesota. I have it 24-20, which is actually the over on points, which doesn't feel right when Minnesota and Iowa play each other. I feel like it's almost always the under. But I'm going to go 24-20.
All right. I took Iowa 28-17. All right, guys, let's talk about the other games that we have on the agenda for tonight. And I know that you don't see these. Calvin's already seen these. I've sent them to him already, and
It's okay.
so-
I haven't thought about any of them. Like, I never thought of an Iowa score until you just asked me, but go ahead.
all righty. Old Miss at OU.
That's
I took
Oklahoma.
OU. Yeah.
I'm taking Lane Kiffin. He ain't gonna lose 2 games in a row.
Okay.
I'll go Oklahoma just because it's at OU and it's tough to play there.
Okay. Yeah. By the way, for the first time last December, my daughter lives near Oklahoma City in Norman. She actually lives closer to Norman, but we went there because my grandson was going on a tour of the campus, and I'll tell you, talk about impressive campus at that stadium with the Heisman Trophy park there. I mean, every one of those statues, man, I was blown away.
Yeah.
Okay. Alabama at South Carolina. I took Alabama. By the way, I took OU too.
Yeah. I'm really tempted to take South Carolina. It's at South Carolina. South Carolina is a better team than their record shows. South Carolina is got a Wisconsin schedule this year. It's just and I still think, are they 4-3 or 5-2 or something? But I'm gonna stick with Alabama.
I'll take the Tide. I think they got a real quarterback out there, and he's going to be a tough one to pick apart.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I hadn't given Alabama much respect coming into this season, but week by week they're earning it.
Mm-hmm.
Illinois at Washington. If this game had been earlier in the season, I would have picked Illinois, but now I'm picking Washington.
Go ahead, Kane.
I'm going to take Illinois. Bielema, he's a real deal, and I think he's going to keep them on track. I think he was very pissed about that Ohio State loss, and I think he's out for some heads over these next few weeks.
And,
Okay.
and we love Bielema because he's a Hawkeye. I don't know if you know that or not, but anyway, but Bielema's going to be really pissed after this game because I'm picking Washington. Washington's actually a 9.5-point favorite. I couldn't believe that. Of course, Washington's home field advantage is very famous, as very loud, So I'm taking Washington.
All right. The next game is BYU at Iowa State. Again, 2 weeks ago I would have picked Iowa State, but I'm picking BYU this week. Go ahead, Kane. Tell us what you think.
Yeah, I'll take BYU. They just came off one of their more difficult games in the Holy War. I feel like anytime you play your rivals, you never know what's going to happen. Anything can happen, even in your worst years. So I think that even when they're undefeated.
I think he
So he
floated
picked
off.
he picked by BYU.
I know that. What do you got?
Okay. I'm gonna say the next head coach at the University of Wisconsin is gonna pull an upset and they're gonna beat BYU even though both of their great cornerbacks are injured and out. But I'm taking
Iowa State.
I like the Cyclones even though they're a rival, and I'm gonna pick I'm gonna say the people that are destined for Wisconsin are gonna win.
Okay. Kane, why don't you give me Northwestern at Nebraska?
Ooh, I still think Nebraska's a good team. Northwestern, I'm going to give their coach props. Like, he has those guys playing hard all the time, but I'm still skeptical. I think Nebraska gets right and they win that one.
I actually agree with you on that one. But Northwestern's surprising everybody this year.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Kelvin, who you got?
Okay. Well, I said before the season started that Northwestern would have one of the top 3 to 5 defenses in the Big Ten, which they do, but about everybody returning from last year, and they're a very disciplined team. And Nebraska is a very undisciplined team, especially at quarterback. But Nebraska's at home; they're going to win.
Okay. Texas A&M at LSU. I took LSU.
I took
Go ahead,
LSU
Calvin.
also. I took LSU also. I think A&M's coach going to be at Penn State next year.
Okay.
I'll take A&M. I think they're on a hot streak. They'll keep it rolling.
All righty. All right, this game I got talked into putting on here. Mizzou at Vandy. I decided to go with Vandy for 2 reasons. One, they're at home, and 2, guy goes by the name of Vandy Chris as part of our network team, and so he's a Vanderbilt fan. So I'm gonna pick it for him. Usually he's on here. He's not come on and commented tonight.
Yeah, give me the Commodores. I'm a big fan of Diego Pavia. I like how much confidence he has in himself. So I'll give the Commodores the win.
Okay.
Little tidbit, Kane. This is like the 7th game of the season, right? 7th or 8th week.
Yeah.
First game that Missouri hasn't played at home.
Ooh.
They're
okay.
going to find out that Vanderbilt's pretty good, and it ain't much fun playing on the road in the SEC. So I'm taking Vandy, just like you guys.
Okay. 2 more games, guys. 2 more games. Then I want to talk something else that somebody just asked a question on before we leave here. Michigan at Michigan State. Either one of you can just answer.
Michigan.
I don't believe in Michigan State at all. I think that they're slightly overrated. So I'm going to go with Michigan. Yep.
Me too. And so did I heard Kelvin say the same thing. Our last game of the day. UCLA at Indiana.
Ooh. I'm all about Kirk Cignetti. I love that he doubled down and he said he wants to retire a Hoosier. I think he's going to win that game, and I think he could win it big. I'm going with IU.
I agree with you.
Last year, Cignetti, when they were playing on the West Coast at UCLA, he said, we're going to fly in, kick their arse, and come home. This time he gets to stay home and kick their arse.
Yeah.
So.
Wait a minute. He played UCLA 2 years in a row?
Yep.
Wow. I guess we're playing Michigan State for the 3rd year in a row. Okay.
We're playing Minnesota for like the 100th year in a row.
Yeah, but that's because that's going to be our permanent rival. Has been for a long time. Okay,
I know
somebody,
that,
Kane, I got to ask you: do you also follow the men's and women's basketball?
Yeah, I'm a season ticket holder for the women's basketball team, and I am very excited about the men's basketball team this year.
Okay, the new coach at Minnesota, what do you I mean, has he been doing a great job of recruiting? I know he probably hit the transfer portal hard, as did Indiana and Iowa with their new coaches. What does that season look like for them, or is it just because of all the new players, they just don't have enough information yet?
I think he was very particular about the names he added in the portal, and I'm very excited about him. He is very systematic when it comes to his offensive approach, and like he's known for like high pace, high ball movement, and finding open opportunities for 3-point shooters. And then he brought in 2 really good 3-point shooters, one who struggled at North Carolina yet last year, but played really well at Belmont the 2 years before that. He's like a 43% 3-point shooter, so he's nice. And Bobby Durkin, who came from Davidson, he's a 3-point shooter as well. I think both those guys are going to thrive. He kept home the biggest recruit from last year's class that was on the team. He was one of the 2 players that stayed with the team after the coaching change. And then he got a bunch of just like scrappy, ready to work guys. So I don't think they're going to be at the top of the conference. I don't think that they make the tournament, but I think that they're going to get the program in the right direction. So I'm really excited about Nico Medved, who came from Colorado State, and he's from Minnesota, and he almost upset Maryland in the tournament last year.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, what you don't know, or maybe you knew and you just didn't mention it. He also coached at Drake at one time, as did the current Iowa coach last year and the Indiana coach. All of them are former Drake coaches. This is going to be crazy this year. Let's talk about real quick your women's team. Your women's team seems to be getting high accolades. I mean, I guess that was one team I thought could be dangerous, but I wasn't expecting them to be as highly ranked in the Big Ten as it came out today.
Yeah, no, I'm super stoked for the women's team. So their core freshmen from 2 years ago, which was their best recruiting class ever, all stayed even through the coaching change. Mara Braun, who's been their best player over the last few years, got injured the last 2 years, but she's healthy and ready to go. So they have all 5 of their starters from the last 2 years, plus a breakout freshman last year who went really crazy last year and won the WNIT Tournament Player of the Year. And then they also have like 2 players beyond that are on the bench that are returning. So they're like top 7 or 8 players are all back from the past 2 years. And then they got a couple good transfer pieces to rotate in. So I'm super excited about them and their potential.
Yeah. Do they have a highly rated freshman recruit or anything, or do you know?
So they have 2 freshmen that are in this year's class. One of them is one of the better players from Wisconsin, but I think she's like in that top 80 range in the recruits for this class. But I think the biggest strengths for them right now are the 4 from that recruiting class 2 years ago, who are all top 80. One was like a top 25 girl, and the other one was like top 30. They're all playing really well and at a high level. And I feel like you can see the game is slowing down for them as a unit, and they play hard-nosed defense. Like every year that the new coach has been here, the defense has just been better and better. So they defense will be their forte.
I know Minnesota had some good, like they'd be like in high school this year or juniors. Do you know if they've gotten commits from any of them, like Ari Peterson, Adrian Peterson's daughter and stuff?
Yeah, Ari Peterson, I think she's a sophomore this year. She hasn't committed anywhere, but she has been working with the program. Chloe Johnson is another one who's big time. She's like a top 3 recruit in her class right now. She's visited, but I wouldn't lie to you. I think she's more likely to go to Iowa, if I'm being honest with you.
She is.
And then there's a couple other people that have been really interested. They did sign one of the top girls for next year's class, Tori Orline. She is committed to the University of Minnesota. They have a top girl from 27 that's committed, and then another girl from 26 that committed. So they have some incoming recruits that are really highly recruited still.
So many great women's coaches in the Big Ten. It's ridiculous.
This is going to be a fantastic year for women's basketball in the Big Ten. With the exception of Ohio State, I think it's going to be 9 or 10 teams that could finish second in the regular season. I think Ohio State is probably head and shoulders a little bit above everybody else, but they can be beat.
You mean UCLA?
Yeah, UCLA is really good too.
You mean UCLA?
Well, who did I say? Didn't I just say UCLA?
Oh, you said Ohio State.
Ohio State.
No.
I thought you were talking about football there for a minute. You know?
Yeah, no.
Ohio State.
I meant UCLA. I'm sorry. I meant UCLA.
Are you surprised that Ohio State, lost all those guys on defense except a couple, and they're that great in football? Or did you expect it?
The way they recruit, I feel like nothing surprises me with them. They get a lot of guys to buy in and then sit a year if they have to because it's Ohio State. But I think the biggest thing for them was the addition of Matt Patricia. I feel like he's got the talent to take on an NFL scheme, and now it's showing, and they're playing fast enough at it. So it's definitely been helpful for him.
So Kyle also asked, does your men's coach recruit at Hopkins High School? He says there's always a lot of good players in the Twin Cities.
Yeah, Hopkins has been a dynamite program for many years. I think they actually kind of had a down year this last year or two, but he's been really active in recruiting the Minnesota State recently. 2 commits so far in the 2026 class. He's kept 2 of the top 4 Minnesota guys already committed at home, so you love to see that. But the other 2 committed to Iowa State and Nebraska. I think the Nebraska one is 27, but he's starting to try to keep those kids home now too. That's a priority for him.
Great. I think this is a good place to end it. I really appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, for sure.
Just to remind everybody that Thursday night, Molly Tideback and I will be on with the preview of the women's season coming up, and we'll try to hit every single team and talk a little bit about the strengths and weaknesses of every team. It's just something that I thought we could do. Molly Tideback we've done the women's games all last year together, and so it's going to be nice to be reunited with her. She's a former Hawkeye. So I'm going to let you get out of here. Obviously, something's on TV that's really good.
I had my notes up there.
Oh, you did?
You are very knowledgeable, Kane. So
I appreciate it.
Yeah, very smart young man. So
yeah. Kyle, thanks you for taking the time to answer all of his questions. He appreciates it.
Yeah, thank you,
Kyle, for your participation. We appreciate it. Everybody watching, we appreciate it. We do. Thank you, guys. We're going to get out of here. This went actually longer than I actually thought it would. I thought we'd go about 45 minutes tonight, but hey, here we are. Over an hour and 7 minutes into the show. All right, guys. Thanks. Take care.
Yep.